kind of next step here, I'm getting the work platforms together. I got my toolmaker square, which is in a sad state of being. Boy, I used to actually use this, like, for really doing things. It was extremely square and precise at one point before I let it rust. I got my toolmaker square in here, and I am getting the parts out of the gate, cleaning them up, putting them in, and then as I glue it, I just sort of slide the square up to it, make sure they're square in this plane, and I'm just sort of eyeballing the end and saying, yeah, they look pretty square, in this plane. So, I've seen a lot of people, I always watch other people's videos build these, and it seemed like this was a spot where people tend to struggle, and maybe I just got really lucky on the first one. But I got the first one built, and I put it in there, and I didn't really have any trouble at all getting all some little alignment pegs in the bottom of those posts that go in all these holes, and I didn't really have any trouble. The one thing I will point out, if anybody's watching this thinking they might build one, you'll notice that these I-beams have an orientation, kind of the flat side to the outside is the way I'm saying it to myself. And that is not clearly spelled out in the instructions. And they are close enough to being square that you could probably jam them in the wrong way into the little pockets they got in here. So, yeah, that's just something to look for. I've generally found, when you're looking at instructions, you got to really study the pictures and look at how it's going together and really pay attention and look a few steps ahead. That's just a general putting together any kit rule. The instructions aren't always really great, and you kind of got to be smarter than the instructions, I guess. That's maybe just lessons learned, screwing up enough things. But if you're thinking, looks like it doesn't really matter which way this goes, that is probably wrong. It almost always matters. So if you catch yourself saying that, that's probably a good reason to stop and take a hard look at what you're about to do. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead and do this. This wasn't too bad. I don't know, 10 minutes or so to do one. And we'll get the rest of these platforms in there, and we'll look at what happens next. Alrighty. I think about a week has gone by since the last clip. I was on the road for work, and not going to lie, even the time I was home, this took a lot of time to do. This is definitely not the most complicated kit I've ever put together by any means. It's pretty straightforward. It hasn't been bad, but it might be in the running for most tedious. There's just so many pieces, and every one of those pieces needed trimmed and cleaned up. And if you were putting one of these together, just 3 stalls, maybe it wouldn't be so bad. But man, this has been something getting to this point. But you can see, got all the support posts in for the rails, all the platforms in, all the posts in under that, all the railings on. I think from here out it's going to be not so bad. But man, this was some work getting to here. Going together really nice though. yeah, no real complaints for how it's going together. Nothing's really fought me. Um, so yeah, we'll look at what comes next in the directions here. I think we're going to start putting some of the columns in. I did order the traveling crane today, just one, um, and trying to decide what color I want to paint the interior. I started thinking about white. Um, I think it might show off everything inside of it a little nicer. And most shops I've been in my industrial life are white on the inside. Um, I'm sure they wouldn't stay white long, but this shop, would have been not new, but newly repurposed. So who knows? Who's to say back when the diesels first showed up, it didn't get a facelift. Uh, anyway, enough of me jabbering. I think before I do anything else, I might go ahead and glue the rails in before anything else is in my way. That shouldn't be a big deal at all. All right, let's see what happens next. Okay, we got rails. So for each stall, what I did is I took a piece of Atlas track. This is Atlas Code 83, 3-foot flex, and cut it in half. Then I pretty much made the back end flush with the end of the building, since I'm going to put the doors in on the back end. Nothing will come out the back side. And just left myself a little bit sticking out the front to be able to connect to once I get it in place. So all those are in. That wasn't too bad to do. I did, once I have all the little yellow posts in where the rails go, I did take a file and kind of slide through just to make sure everything was cleaned up. And I thought it was going to be a big problem trying to get the rail in there, but it really wasn't a big deal. It all went right in. And you can see over there in the boxes in front of the TV, those are all the I-beams. There's over 100 of them. Got those all painted white. And I got the walls cut out of the gate. Let's actually go take a look at that. Started painting those. Sure, this is what everybody wanted to see, me taking a walk in the basement. The interior walls will all be white, and let's see a good way to explain what I did here. Right here. So this is an exterior wall. I painted this brick red color because the real building is brick. So brick red is going to be close enough. I got to mask this off and paint the concrete base yet. You can see the inside's white. Outside's red. But you can kind of see where this is divided into 4 sections for the windows to go in. All the walls that will be interior, I cut everything out and filed it smooth. So hopefully it'll just look like an open building on the inside once it's all together. I'm not totally sure how this is going to work, if I haven't said that already. I got half an idea. We'll see as it all goes together. This kit, unlike the roundhouse is made to just keep adding on to. They didn't really think this through, like somebody might want to, expand it. So it's really 4 standalone kits that wasn't made to go together. So we'll see what I come up with. Hopefully it won't look terrible when I'm done. But we'll see. We'll find a way to make it work. All right. we'll start putting vertical posts up, and I gotta get the window frames, all the little grids, I gotta get those cut out and painted here too. Alright, that's coming up. Alright. Slow progress on this one, just a lot of other things happening. Hopefully I can get some good progress done on this. I teach band camp next week, so progress will stall again, but hopefully it's going to start to look like a building before I leave. But yeah, got all the columns in, at least all the ones that the instructions show to go in, leaving the corners out. I think I see why. And in the meantime, I've got the walls painted and the window frames painted and glass is in. This is a little bit different process than most of the Walthers kit I've done as far as how the windows go together. And I'll say I'm not a huge fan of this style, but it's going to work okay. So anyway, pretty straightforward process of how I did this. I just shot the whole walls this brick red color, which will kind of make it look, at least color-wise, like the prototype. And then once I did that, I masked off the kind of the corrugated sheet metal part here and sprayed the foundation section in the around the doors. It's spray paint color is yarn. Forget who makes it. And then that's the same color I used on the window frames. It just kind of looked right to me. And then, of course, the insides are white. We will start putting some walls up, I think. Stay tuned. All right. Some progress done here. So I did get all the wall and window sections in, obviously. And I put the doors in the back. I didn't bother painting these roll-up doors because where they're going to be on the layout, you're not really going to be able to see them. So I just stuck them in there. I don't think they look that bad anyway. But the one thing I started to do here that was sort of a departure from the kit instructions, and because I'm lining up 4 of these in a row, the first thing I did is I took all these back wall sections and I put them on my height gauge on my granite plate, and this had a peak to it. In fact, maybe you can see there's a very slight peak in the bottom of that wall section there, and the roofs were supposed to have a peak this way, and that would work fine for one wall section, but then the edges wouldn't line up right to join them up together, and there was no way this was going to look good. So what I did, came in with a height gauge and I just scribed a line, took it off with my bandsaw, and then just ran it on sandpaper on the surface plate to get it flat. So now it's just one flat line, even with the height of the walls across there. And then these trusses kind of have that same peak in it. What I did is I glued them in upside down, and that worked okay. And one was supposed to go in the middle, and then I think one was supposed to go up against each wall. That doesn't even really make a lot of sense to me. So I just sort of spaced them out in there. So now I just have this nice flat grid, and what I'm going to do is cut maybe like an 1/8 inch piece of plywood just to cover that whole thing as one piece. Still trying to decide if I'm going to do something similar for the roof up top, or if I'm going to actually try to use the roof supplies of the kit and just put like splice joints on them. we'll see. And then if I got to put some kind of, you know, little piece of angle or something to cover that gap where that angle was, we'll do that too. So yeah, got all the walls on, all the windows in, all the rest of the little platforms up against the walls. And at this point, I think it's just some minor details. Like I got to get the doors in, the little man doors, and get the roof on it. Some vents on the side, the air vents on the roof, which I'll do in place. There's some trim pieces that go over the doors I got to put on. So I think I'll probably get those trim pieces on. I'll get the man doors in. And then probably bolt it in the layout to start working on the roof. Yeah. We'll be back in a little bit. Alright, well, I think I've done just about everything I'm going to do before I set it in place on the layout. I got most of the detail work on, you know, these little awnings above the doors. I got the little man doors in. I'm not sure if these are supposed to be lights or vents. I thought they were vents, but as I was putting them on, it makes more sense if they were supposed to be like hoods for lights, maybe. I don't know. Whatever they are. I didn't plan on putting these roof sections in now on the top, but everything was just so warpy, wobbly, kind of out of square. You know, just the nature of plastic kits. You know, not everything's perfect. But anyway, I'm going ahead and put all those roof pieces on just to kind of pull everything together. Of course, this back roof, I'm just going to cut a piece of plywood to lay on there and make that just a big one-piece roof. So yeah, this is getting ready to go up on the layout now. I think I was talking about this in the last one. These truss pieces I put in upside down. And then so this one, the middle one, is kind of where it's supposed to be, you know, this way, other than being upside down. I think they meant for you to put these ones against the end wall and against the other high bay there. It didn't really make sense to me. And especially the way I'm going to put the roof on, I don't need them there. So I put them in just to line them up with these. There's some tabs in there for these lights. I just use those as a guide. And to me, that just looks more right. So anyway, here's the plan. I'm going to put it up in the layout, get it all bolted down. This board I have on has a slight crown to it. The bolts will pull it all flat. That won't be a problem with the buildings because each individual building is not attached to the one next to it. And then you can kind of see, you know, what I was talking about is, you know, they didn't design these to be modular like the roundhouse. So there's all these gaps I got to deal with once it's up in the layout. And of course in the roof sections up there too, I got, you know, gaps I got to seam. We'll get it up there and see what I think. But I think I'm just going to cut, you know, some strips of styrene, paint it that same color, and just glue it over the gaps. You won't notice it. That's what I'm hoping anyway. Probably do something similar with the roof. Just, you know, lay some pieces of styrene over it, make it look like, I don't know, some kind of joint plate or something. I'm hoping that the structure is just big enough, impressive enough. There's enough other stuff going on in that engine terminal, you know, that you're not going to start looking at that fine level of detail like that. Was lucky enough, Scott Woods posted some pictures up for me of the this building in the 40s. And all the stuff that was just outside the doors, specifically some racks holding flues, I thought was really cool. So we'll get some of that stuff modeled in here eventually. Yeah, so here's this side. You can kind of see, like I said, all the detail pieces on there, all the windows in, all the I-beams in. And like I've said probably a ton of times now in this video, probably sick of hearing me say it. Doing one of these kits would be, it's a pretty involved kit. It's not bad, but there's a lot to it, a lot of pieces, especially thinking all the way back to all those individual posts that the rails are sitting on. But man, by the time you stack up 4 of them, this has just been a monster build. I mean, I've been working on it well over a month now. All right. Well, we'll see it in the layout. Oh, before I get up there, yeah. Again, you can kind of just see these joints I got to seam. We'll come up with a plan. All right. All right. Got the shop up in place in the layout here. Kind of start seeing this whole scene coming together. I think once these buildings are in place and the tracks are going through there, or some coming to the turntable, it's going to really start looking like something. One other thing we did do here is I picked up this water tower. I don't have it here with me, but I did pick up some pictures from the Greenville shops from the 40s, and there was a water tower, looked something like that in the background of one of the pictures, and it even said Bessemer spelled out around it, so I'll see if I can get that decaled on. But yeah, the shop's looking sweet right there, and it sort of breaks the scene to what'll eventually be a farmstead behind it on the inside of that loop. So going to be kind of cool. So got this in here, show you what I'm doing to cover the gaps. So these gaps between the buildings here, because I'm not using the roofs for the the back of the shop, I just got this piece of hardboard I'm setting in there, and we'll get all the roof detail on that. I think it'll be okay. Yeah, I think it'll be okay. So I've been cutting pieces off this, painted them that same red, and just kind of seaming it in like that. So one of those things, if you really look at it, you can see it, and it maybe doesn't look the best, but the whole trick of this is get you to not really look at it. So all right, do that. I'm going to have to come up with the same plan for the roofs, the high bays on the back, and the back wall. So I got a bunch of this to do yet, and then we'll start getting the track in. I stuck one in here just to kind of see how everything landed level wise, and it's pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's only off maybe 20 thousandths of an inch. It's I'm gonna live with it. It'd be pretty hard to get it exactly right, I think. All right. Okay. A little more progress here. I got all the plates covering all the gaps between the building sections, including down the back side here. I got my wood roof sitting in place, and then the way I joined the roof sections up here on the stock roofs, it's actually just masking tape. I lay it over real carefully, and then masked everything off and just gave it a once over coat of the flat black, and then hit it with some clear just to try to seal it all down so the paint or tape doesn't peel up over time. So I'll start working on roof vents. Roof vents are actually multiple pieces. So there's a base, kind of a middle section, and a cap. End up looking something like that. I'll paint them as an assembly and put them on. it's just a lot of pieces. If you haven't done a big building like this before, like the roundhouse is a lot of pieces. I think this is more. Um, just a lot of time. Been working on this a long time now. Um, Getting there though, and it's going to be awesome. I'm really glad that I went this route and took now as the time to do it. Starting to look at tracks coming out of the pit here. I'm just using plain old Atlas Code 83 sectional. By the time I do something with the apron here, meaning apron, this space, you're not really going to see it anyway. But I just put it in, cut it to length, and then, flare the ends of the rail. It saves you a little bit of alignment. Can be a little imperfect. Then what I do is I'll cut them just a hair long, and I sit and file them back until they are just sitting back from the edge. Just so nothing catches from the bridge as the bridge moves over, but I also have the smallest gap possible. So I think that's today's job. Today's job will be put together some roof vents, keep getting some track together, and then I'll probably start programming bridge positions, getting the track glued in place, and I can start thinking about getting some power to it all and actually drive in and out of it, and that'll be fun. All right, stay tuned. Okay, a little further along here, you can see I've got all 12 tracks in. And you can kind of see how I flare the ends. And you can kind of see the glue marks on there where I glued on the pit. Don't worry about that. You won't see it when I'm done. All that gets hidden. Did get the roof vents on. And you can see how I paint those. This is typically how I do these. I paint them all this metallic silver, and they look awful like that. But then I come back and I hit them just with the camouflage. But what I do is I paint it really badly when I do that, and I intentionally leave it where that silver shows through a little. And I just think that that's a good look for a roof vent. I like that. Anyway, additionally, this is just my plywood back roof here. I put in some styrene strips in line with the seams of the building, and then some trim strips up along the high bays there, just to cover any imperfections and gap and sort of look like a lip. And I don't know, I think it just looks a little more believable now. So once I get all these roof vents painted and all of them glued on there, I think it'll look pretty convincing. Other thing I've been doing kind of as I go here is as I've been putting the tracks in, programming all the positions and just testing that. Pretty easy to change where it's going. We were at track 12, we'll just go over to track 9. I think that's what I set. Yep. There's 11 it just passed. And there's 10. And there's 9. And right on into the building. Just a dummy unit there, obviously. I'll show you the other thing I'm kind of got going on. Working on, getting this whole front concreted. So I'm kind of experimenting here. that's 3D printed on my filament printer. You know, it's just some spacer under there to take up space. Got gaps there for the edge of the ties. And then, you know, drew expansion joints right into it. So go ahead and I'll get those in. Before I can glue those in, I got to go and put feeder wires on all these. Only takes about an hour to print one. And, you know, for anybody thinking like, well, you could cut a piece of styrene in a lot less than an hour. True, but that's not an hour of me sitting there working on it. Like, I got another one being made right now for the next spot. If Todd happens to be watching, we've had some conversations about 3D modeling and you know, parametric models or not parametric models. This little model of this concrete pad I drew in SolidWorks, it is a fully parametric model. And I made it that way because you can imagine as I put all these tracks in and I measure the distance, you know, between the rails with my calipers, front to back and stall to stall, they are not exactly the same. Now they only vary, you know, maybe 30 thousandths of an inch or so, but I want a nice clean fit to the rails. So I drew that whole model parametrically, so every one I go, I just take a quick measurement, I update 2 models in my SolidWorks file, export the STL, and everyone's custom made to fit. That's the plan. So there's a really good reason why you would do a parametric 3D model for something like this, even though it's really simple. Anyway, enough about that. So things are starting to come together here. I think once the roof vents are on the back, the building is just about done. Get some wiring in here, get the concrete pad in the front, and this project's going to be close to wrapping up. Long time coming. Okay, working back on the back roof again, getting all the vents on. Decided the way I wanted to do this, I just laid them all out and drilled holes for every position. I'm just drilling a small hole through the bottom of the vents and then pushing a screw up through and screwing them in from underneath. Think it's going to go pretty easy. And we'll just sit here and get this done. All right. Got power to the tracks, at least temporary power, because I think I want to build an actual control panel here. And finished 3D printing the pads. They turned out okay. Maybe some things I'd do different, but I think it'll work. Got the rest of the roof vents on. My plywood roof back here turned out pretty good. I'm pretty happy with it. I was worried it was going to look stupid, but I think it's pretty convincing. All right. So that's it. 12 stall diesel shop, transfer table's working. I have tested every track. So next I'm going to get this sand tower put in. Got to paint it first. Got a couple other kits to build. Get the car shops in this side, rest of the turntable tracks in. Got to finish the ash conveyor and the sand pit over here. Then I think we're going to throw down some ground cover. All right. If you stayed this long and watched the whole project, thanks for watching. We'll go ahead and shoot some video here of engines moving in and out, just because why not? That's what we're here for, right? Let's run some trains.